You're feeling something different happening right now, aren't you? A pressure unlike any other, a sense that something bigger is about to move in your life. But at the same time, everything around you seems to be crumbling in a way you've never seen before. And you wonder, why now? Why, when I was starting to understand everything, when I was finally finding my way, does everything seem to be collapsing? Let me tell you something that will change the way you see what's happening to you right now. What you're facing now isn't punishment. It's not bad luck. It's not a coincidence. You're going through the most dangerous test a chosen one can face. And the reason this test is so intense, so brutal, so hard to endure, is because you're about to cross over to a level of consciousness that most people will never reach. This is no ordinary test. This is the test that separates those who will merely survive spiritually from those who will completely master their reality. And if you are going through it now, it means one thing. You have passed all previous tests. You have already proven that you can endure pain, betrayal, loneliness, misunderstanding. Now, the universe is testing whether you can withstand the total transformation of your identity, your energy, your destiny. Before we continue, I need you to do something right now. Like this video, because what you're about to hear isn't a coincidence, it's a revelation. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because in the coming days, I'm going to show you exactly how to cross this portal. And go to the comments now and tell me, what has been your biggest trial right now? What has been the most difficult test you're facing? Write it down, because when you declare it, you activate a force. Now come with me, because what I'm about to reveal to you will make everything make sense. The first thing you need to understand is that this test you are facing now didn't come from nowhere. It was designed specifically for you. There is no other chosen one going through the exact same test in the same way you are going through it. Because this test was created from your deepest wounds, your most hidden fears, your oldest insecurities. And here's what nobody told you about it. The more specific and personalized the test, the closer you are to your greatest transformation. Generic tests are for generic people. Devastating, impossible tests that seem to simultaneously attack every area of your life are exclusively for chosen few who are about to access a power that few can wield. Have you noticed how everything seems to be falling apart at once? Relationships you thought were solid suddenly reveal their true colors. Financial situations that were stable begin to tremble. Even your emotional and physical health seems to be tested in ways you've never experienced before. And the question that won't leave your head is, why all at once? Because you're not being prepared for a small improvement in your life. You're being prepared for a dimensional shift in your existence. Let me explain what this means. There's a huge difference between evolving within the same level of consciousness and jumping to a completely new level. When you evolve within the same level, you learn new things, improve some areas, and grow little by little. But when you jump to a new level of consciousness, you literally become a different person. Your frequency changes, your energy changes. The way you perceive reality changes completely. And here is the first revelation you need to fully absorb. In order for you to access this new level of consciousness, everything that belongs to the old level needs to be destroyed, not reformed, not adjusted, destroyed. That's why you're losing people now. That's why situations that seemed important suddenly lose all meaning. That's why you look at your life and no longer recognize anything, because the old version of you with your old beliefs, your old patterns, your old tolerances cannot exist at the level of consciousness to which you are being raised. But here's what makes this test dangerous. In the midst of this total collapse, you'll be tempted to go back. You'll be tempted to rebuild what's being destroyed. You'll feel such a desperate need to stabilize things, to make everything go back to normal, that you'll want to make deals, accept crumbs, return to situations and people who already be in the past. And if you give in to that temptation, you lose the passage to the next level. you go back to where you were. And worse, you'll have to go through this test again in the future, only even more intense. Wait, stay with me here because this is crucial. The universe isn't being cruel to you. The universe is being precise. It knows exactly what needs to be removed from your life so you can charge for the next level of energy. It knows you still have attachments that will prevent you from soaring. It knows you still have tolerances that will keep you trapped. It knows you still believe certain lies about yourself that need to be completely destroyed. So he creates a test so intense, so comprehensive, so unbearable that you have no choice but to let go of everything. Because as long as you hold on to anything from the old level, you cannot enter the new level. It's spiritual physics. It's universal law. You cannot carry opposing frequencies at the same time. And the reason this is the most dangerous test is because it attacks precisely the things you value most. It doesn't attack what's disposable. It attacks what you think you can't live without. It attacks the people you love. It attacks the security you've built. It attacks the identity you've spent years creating. And you need to understand this before continuing. If it didn't hurt so much, it wouldn't be the final test. If you didn't feel like you were losing everything, it wouldn't be the preparation to win everything. If it didn't seem impossible, it wouldn't be the gateway to the level where you become unstoppable. But let me explain why you specifically are going through this right now. There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey when the universe looks at you and silently asks, do you truly want what you are asking for? Because you have been asking in prayer, in thought, in desire to be elevated. You have been asking to fulfill your mission. You have been asking to access your true power. You have been asking to live your fullest expression. And the universe listened. But here's what you didn't understand when you made those requests. You can't access the maximum version of yourself while you're still operating with the programming of the limited version. You can't step into your full destiny while still carrying the fears, beliefs, and patterns of the person you were before awakening. So the universe gives you exactly what you asked for, but in the way that works universally. First comes the cleansing. First comes the destruction of what no longer serves you. First comes the test that will prove if you are truly ready to carry what you are asking for. And now comes the part that will change everything about how you view your current situation. This test you're facing, this simultaneous collapse of multiple areas of your life, isn't happening because you did something wrong. It's happening because you've done everything right up to this point. You've already passed the tests of endurance. You've proven you can endure pain. You've proven you can endure betrayal. You've proven you can endure loneliness. You've proven you can endure rejection. And because you went through all of that without completely breaking down, without losing your essence, without becoming bitter or vengeful, you passed the final test. The ultimate test isn't about enduring more pain. The ultimate test is about completely letting go of control and trusting that you're being guided towards something greater than you can see right now. It's about allowing everything that needs to fall to fall. It's about stopping trying to save what the universe is trying to remove. It's about having absolute faith that what is being destroyed for a sacred reason. But here's what makes this test particularly dangerous. It comes disguised as failure. It looks in every observable way like you're losing, that you're going backward, that you're being punished, that you've somehow gone off track. And everyone around you will confirm this perception. People will look at your life now and say you're worse off than you were before. They'll question your choices. They'll suggest you should go back to where you were. They'll offer advice based on what they can see, which is only the surface of what's happening. But you need to understand this with every cell of your being. What seems like collapse to human eyes is reorganization to spiritual eyes. What seems like loss to the limited mind is preparation to the awakened mind. What seems like failure to those who live in illusion is alignment to those who live in truth. Pay close attention now, because what you are about to hear is not just a spiritual warning, it is a decree concerning your life. For a long time you've felt you've been wronged. You've carried too much weight. You've endured attacks you never deserved. You've seen people rise up against you, but what they didn't know is that you're marked. Marked for victory, marked for a rise, marked for a moment to be seen at the perfect time. And that time is beginning now. What I'm going to give you today are 3 powerful spiritual books created for those entering the phase of divine justice, emotional rebirth, and awakening of power. These books weren't written for those who are still asleep. They're for those who already feel the movement happening, enemies falling of their own accord, cycles ending, and doors that were once locked finally beginning to open. And with each book, you'll receive 2 secret bonuses, profound content that I've never revealed here on the channel. In total, 9 sacred materials, prepared to accelerate everything that's already written about you, the collapse of your enemies, the recovery of what you've lost, your spiritual rebirth, and your triumphant return, stronger, wiser, and absolutely untouchable. But listen to this seriously. This access is extremely limited. Not because I want it that way, but because certain revelations cannot be available to everyone. Only to those who are truly ready for what is to come. And if you're listening to this and feeling your chest race, your body shiver, your soul respond, that's not emotion, that's confirmation. Something is prepared for you, and it's very close, so don't ignore this sign now. Click the link in the first pinned comment. Join this journey before access is taken away. Remember, divine justice never fails. The downfall of your enemies is inevitable, and your triumphant return has already begun. The only question is, are you going to join this movement, or are you going to watch it happen without you? Now come back with me, because there's still so much more to be revealed about what's happening to you. Now, I'm going to tell you something that few chosen ones understand about this specific moment you're living through. When you're in the midst of the most dangerous test, there's a huge temptation to do one thing: seek external validation that you're on the right track. You want someone to tell you that you're doing the right thing. You want clear and obvious signs that you're going in the right direction. You want the universe to show you concrete evidence that everything you're going through is really worth it. And here is the second revelation that needs to sink deep within you. The reason you are not receiving these validations now is precisely to test whether you can trust your inner truth, even when absolutely nothing around you confirms that truth. Because at the next level of consciousness you're heading towards, you won't have anyone to validate you. You'll be operating at such a high frequency, making such advanced decisions, seeing such profound truths that most people around you simply won't understand. You'll be alone in your perceptions. You'll be alone in your decisions. You'll be alone in your certainty. And if you don't learn now, in the midst of this test, to absolutely trust your inner guidance, even when everything around you says otherwise, you won't be able to sustain yourself at the next level. You will succumb to the pressure. You will doubt yourself. You will fall back into the herd. So this test is training you for something very specific: absolute spiritual leadership. Not necessarily leadership of other people, but leadership of your own life, on a level that doesn't depend on external confirmation. You are being trained to be so secure in your connection with the divine, so certain of your spiritual guidance, so confident in your purpose that nothing and no one can make you doubt it. What if I told you that the people leaving your life right now aren't leaving by chance? They're leaving because their frequency can no longer coexist with yours. You're vibrating at a level that's literally expelling everything that doesn't resonate with who you're becoming. This includes people you love. This includes people you thought would be with you forever. This even includes people who were important in earlier stages of your journey. But just as you can't wear the same clothes you wore when you were 5 years old, you can't carry the same relationships that served the older version of yourself. And here comes the third revelation, the most profound of all, you are not being tested to see if you are strong enough to endure the pain. You have already proven that. You are being tested to see if you are wise enough to understand that the current pain is the birthing process of your new reality. Every true transformation seems like death before revealing rebirth. Every true elevation seems like a fall before showing flight. Every true advance seems like a regression before manifesting the quantum leap. And what separates those who pass this test from those who fail is not strength, not resistance, not the ability to endure suffering. What separates them is understanding. It's the ability to look at the absolute chaos of your life at this moment and say, I understand what is happening. I know this is necessary. I trust the process. I allow it. Because look, you can have all the strength in the world, but if you use that strength to resist what needs to happen, to hold on to what needs to be let go, to rebuild what needs to remain destroyed, you only prolong the ordeal. You only increase the pain. You only postpone the transformation. The universe will continue to apply pressure until you finally let go. And the more you resist, the more intense the pressure needs to be. That's why some people get stuck in the same test for years, for decades, because they keep using their strength to fight the process instead of surrendering to it. But you're not going to do that. You're hearing this now for a reason. You're being warned before it's too late. You're receiving the understanding that will allow you to navigate this test with wisdom instead of just brute resistance. So here's what you need to do now. Stop trying to fix everything. Stop trying to save relationships that are dying. Stop trying to force situations that are dissolving. Stop trying to hold up structures that are crumbling. Instead, observe, allow, trust, let go. And as you do this, as you allow the old to die completely, you will begin to feel something new being born within you. A new version of yourself that looks nothing like who you were. A version that is not afraid. A version that doesn't need approval. A version that knows with absolute certainty who it is and why it is here. This version already exists within you. It has always existed. But it was covered by layers and layers of conditioning, fear, the need for belonging, and attachment to security. And this test is forcibly removing those layers. It is exposing the truth of who you really are. And when this process is over, when you come out the other side of this test, you won't recognize the person you were before, and you'll finally understand why it had to hurt so much. Now I'm going to give you something concrete, because up until now, I've given you understanding, I've given you revelation, I've given you context. But you need tangible signs that you're actually in the midst of this specific test, and not just going through a common difficult period. So pay attention to the signs I'm about to list. If you're experiencing most of them, or even all of them simultaneously, it's absolute confirmation that you're in the midst of the most dangerous test before reaching the next level of your consciousness. First sign, you feel a loneliness that isn't just physical. You can be surrounded by people and still feel completely alone. It's as if you're speaking a language no one else understands. It's as if you're seeing a reality that's invisible to everyone around you. This isn't ordinary depression. This is the loneliness of the chosen one, entering a frequency that doesn't yet have companionship. Second sign, things that used to give you pleasure, motivation, and purpose suddenly seem empty. You look at hobbies you loved and feel nothing. You think about goals you had and they no longer make sense. You try to connect with things that once fulfilled you and simply can't. This isn't apathy. This is the universe emptying you of old motivations to make room for much greater ones. Third sign, you are having intense, strange, prophetic dreams. Dreams that seem more real than reality itself. Dreams where you receive messages, where you meet spiritual guides, where you visit places that don't exist on this plane. Your subconscious is being prepared to operate in dimensions that your conscious mind cannot yet fully access. Fourth sign, Your body is reacting in unusual ways. You may be feeling extremely tired even without physical exertion. You may be experiencing aches and pains that come and go without medical explanation. You may be experiencing changes in sleep, appetite, and energy levels. Your physical body is being recalibrated to handle a higher frequency, and this is literally exhausting. Fifth sign, you are having insights and perceptions that come out of nowhere. Suddenly you understand things about your life, about your past, about people, about situations that you had never seen before. It's as if a veil is being removed and you are seeing the truth behind the illusions. This is your new level of consciousness, beginning to bleed into your current level. Sixth sign, situations and people are revealing themselves in brutally honest ways. Masks are falling. Lies are being exposed. True intentions are coming to light. And all of this is happening in a way that cannot be ignored, cannot be denied, cannot be pretended not to see. The universe is forcing you to see the truth, even if it hurts. Seventh sign, you are feeling an inexplicable urgency, a feeling that time is speeding up, that something important is about to happen, that you need to be ready for something, but you don't know exactly what. This urgency is not anxiety. It is your spirit knowing that a dimensional shift is near. Eighth sign, you're losing interest in dramas, gossip, superficial conversations, and pointless discussions. Things that used to engage you now irritate you. You simply can no longer waste energy on what doesn't matter. Your consciousness is becoming selective because it knows you'll need all your energy for what's to come. Ninth sign, you are being attacked. And I'm not necessarily talking about physical attacks, although that can happen too. I'm talking about energetic attacks, psychic attacks, attacks through people who suddenly turn against you for no apparent reason. The greater the destiny, the greater the resistance the universe allows to be placed in your path. 10th sign, despite all of this, despite all the pain, all the collapse, all the confusion, there is a part of you, deep down, that is strangely calm. A part that knows everything is all right. A part that trusts you are exactly where you need to be. That is your soul telling you that it recognizes this process. It has been through this before, in other lives, in other dimensions, and it knows you will get through it. If you've recognized most of these signs in your life right now, make no mistake, you're in the midst of the most dangerous test. But recognizing this changes everything. Because now you're no longer blindly fighting something you don't understand. Now you know what it is. Now you know why. Now you can cooperate with the process instead of resisting it. And when you cooperate, when you allow, when you trust, the test doesn't necessarily become easier, but it becomes faster. You get through it faster. You transform faster. You are reborn faster. So go to the comments now and tell me, how many of these signs are you experiencing right now? Which one resonated most strongly with you? Declare it, because declaring it is part of the process of going through it. Now that you understand the signs, I need to explain something about the timing of this test. Because one of the things that most confuses those chosen is, why now? Why just when I was starting to stabilize? Why when I was finally seeing some progress? And here's something few people understand about how the universe works. The most dangerous test never comes when you're at rock bottom. It comes when you're rising. It comes when you're making progress. It comes when you're starting to believe you've finally achieved some stability. Because the universe isn't interested in testing you when you're already broken. Anyone can crumble when they're already on the ground. The real test is, can you let go of what's working to achieve what's excellent? Can you abandon what's good to access what's extraordinary? Can you destroy mediocre stability to build exceptional abundance? That's why the test comes now, because you finally had something to lose. You had finally built something that gave you some comfort, some security, some sense of control. And that's exactly what needs to be tested, your ability to let go of control. your ability to trust even when it doesn't make sense, your ability to jump without a safety net. But let me explain something crucial about this moment. While everything seems to be crumbling in the outside world, something is being built in the inner world. While you are losing external structures, you are gaining internal foundations. While you are being emptied of external attachments, you are being filled with inner power. And here is the truth that will change everything. The next level of consciousness you are about to access cannot be sustained by external structures. It can only be sustained by an internal foundation. You cannot access your true power if that power depends on approval, validation, external circumstances, or other people. The real power, the power you're about to access, is completely independent. It exists with or without money. It exists with or without relationships. It exists with or without recognition. It exists because you exist, because you are directly connected to the source. But in order for you to access that kind of power, everything that made you dependent on external factors needs to be removed. And it's painful, it's terrifying, because since you were born, you've been taught that your security comes from the outside, that your validation comes from the outside, that your worth comes from the outside. And now the universe is forcing you to discover that all of this has always been inside. Always. You just couldn't access it while you were using external crutches. So this test is breaking your crutches. And yes, when crutches break, you fall, you get hurt, you despair. But then something miraculous happens. You discover you never needed crutches. You discover your legs always worked. You discover you can not only walk, you can run, you can fly. And when you discover this, when you truly embody this truth, nothing and no one can bring you down anymore. Because you no longer depend on anything external to stay standing. You are your own foundation. You are your own power. You are your own source. But there's one more thing about this test that you need to understand. While you're going through it, while you're in the midst of the chaos, there's a constant temptation to compare your journey to other people's journeys. You look at other people who seem to be progressing smoothly, who seem to be receiving blessings easily, who don't seem to be going through anything like what you're going through, and you ask yourself, why is it so difficult for me? Why do I have to go through so much? What did I do wrong to deserve this level of difficulty? And here's the answer you need to engrave in your heart. You're not going through this because you did something wrong. You're going through this because you have a greater capacity, a greater mission, a greater destiny. The people you see who seem to have easier lives aren't being prepared for the same level of impact you are. They aren't being equipped for the same level of power you are. They aren't being called to the same magnitude of purpose you are. You are being forged in fire because you will need to be indestructible. You are being tested beyond limits because you will need to operate beyond limits. You are being isolated because you will need to lead alone. And I know that doesn't make it easier. I know that doesn't remove the pain, but it gives you context. It gives you meaning. It gives you the ability to look at what's happening and see it not as punishment but as preparation, not as destruction but as building, not as an end but as a beginning. Because a time is coming very soon when you will look back and see this period of your life with completely different eyes. You will see that every loss was necessary, every pain had a purpose, every breakdown was part of a larger plan that you couldn't see from inside the test. And you will be grateful. You will be grateful for not giving up. You will be grateful for enduring. You will be grateful for trusting even when everything told you to doubt. But to reach that moment of gratitude, you need to get through this trial. And you will get through it. Because you didn't come this far to give up now. Now I need to tell you something that will sound strange at first. But when you fully absorb it, it will forever change the way you see your life. There is a hidden reason. a reason that very few chosen ones discover about why you specifically were selected to undergo the most dangerous test. And this reason has nothing to do with punishment. It has nothing to do with negative karma. It has nothing to do with you having done something wrong in past lives. In fact, it's exactly the opposite. You are undergoing this test because you are one of the few who has proven across multiple existences and dimensions that you can wield power without corrupting it. You have proven that you can access profound truths without using those truths to manipulate. You have proven that you can elevate yourself without stepping on others to rise. And because of that history of integrity across multiple lifetimes, you were chosen for a mission that requires a level of power that, in the wrong hands, would be devastating. You were chosen to be a high-frequency anchor point in a world undergoing massive transformation. But here's the part that few understand. In order to anchor that high frequency, you first need to be completely emptied of everything that is low frequency. And that includes things you didn't even know were low frequency. It includes patterns so subtle, so deep, so old, that you didn't even realize you were still carrying them. That's why this test is so comprehensive. Because it's not just clearing away the obvious, it's clearing away layers you didn't even know existed. It's removing programming that's been installed for so long that you thought it was part of who you are. And here's something that will make you rethink everything that's happening in your life right now. The people who are betraying you, abandoning you, attacking you at this moment are not doing it willingly. They are being used as instruments to reveal where you still have attachments, where you still have dependencies, where you still have vulnerabilities. I'm not saying they aren't responsible for their actions. They are, and they will reap the karmic consequences of it. But in the larger context of your journey, they are catalysts. They are forcing you to see truths you would avoid seeing if everything were comfortable. They are showing you where you were still giving your power outwards, where you were still seeking external validation, where you were still tolerating the intolerable because you were afraid of being alone. And when you see this, when you truly absorb these lessons, you no longer feel anger towards these people. You feel gratitude because they set you free. They showed you the truth. They accelerated your awakening process in a way that years of peace and comfort never could. But let me warn you about something. There is a real danger at this point in the journey, and that danger is using this spiritual understanding to justify continued tolerance of abuse. It's confusing spiritual acceptance of the process with permission for people to continue hurting you. Wisdom isn't about staying where you're being destroyed. Wisdom is about understanding why you attracted that situation, being grateful for the lesson, and then leaving completely. Without anger, without revenge, but also without going back, because the person you're becoming has no room to repeat old cycles. And here's something that will give you strength when you need it most. While you're going through this test, while it seems like you're losing everything, there's a movement happening behind the scenes of reality that you can't see yet. Opportunities are being aligned, connections are being prepared, doors are being unlocked. Everything is perfectly timed to manifest at the exact moment you complete your transformation. The universe isn't just destroying, it's simultaneously building, but it can't show you what it's building while you're still attached to what's being destroyed. Because if you saw it now, you'd try to force the timing, you'd try to skip steps. You'd try to manifest before you were ready to sustain the manifestation. So you are being kept in the dark about what is coming, not as punishment, but as protection. Protection so that you can fully complete the transformation process before receiving what is being prepared for you. And when it finally manifests, when you finally see the other side of this test, it will be so perfectly synchronized, so magnificently orchestrated, so obviously divine that any doubt you had during the process will instantly evaporate. You will see that every day of pain had a purpose. Every moment of solitude was necessary. Every loss opens space for incomparably greater gains. And you will understand, with every fiber of your being, that the universe never abandoned you. Not for a second. It was simply working on a level you were not yet able to perceive. But now you are developing that capacity. Now you are expanding your consciousness to levels where you can see the bigger picture, where you can perceive the patterns, where you can trust the process even when the process seems chaotic. And that's the true mark of someone who's ready for the next level. Not someone who never doubts, but someone who doubts and chooses to trust anyway. Not someone who never feels fear, but someone who feels fear and moves forward regardless. Not someone who never wants to give up, but someone who wants to give up and decides to keep going. You are becoming that person. With each day, you choose to keep going despite everything. With each moment, you choose to trust despite contrary evidence. With each decision you make based on your inner truth and not on external opinions. You are becoming unstoppable. And that threatens the status quo in a way you don't yet fully understand. So we've reached the point where everything needs to come together, where all the revelations you received in this video need to transform into integrated understanding, where you need to decide what you're going to do with everything you've just discovered, because information without application transforms nothing. You can intellectually understand everything I've told you here. You can agree with every word. You can even feel chills of recognition. But if you don't integrate it into how you live the next days, weeks, months, nothing changes. So let me give you something practical you can do immediately to consciously begin cooperating with this test instead of just being a victim of it. First, stop talking about the test as if it were a curse. Stop telling your story as if you were the victim. Stop seeking validation from people who lack the capacity to understand the level of transformation you are going through. Every time you verbalize your experience as purposeless suffering, you anchor the victim identity more deeply, and the victim doesn't pass the test. Only the spiritual warrior passes. Second, create daily moments of complete silence where you simply observe what is happening within you without trying to fix it, without trying to change it, without trying to escape. Just observe. Because in silence, away from external and internal noise, you can hear the guidance that is constantly being transmitted to you. But you cannot hear it if you are constantly distracted, constantly busy, constantly running away from yourself. Third, every time you feel the urge to go back, to rebuild what is being destroyed, to hold on to what needs to be let go, pause, breathe. And ask yourself, is this my soul wanting to go back, or is it my ego being afraid to move forward? Most of the time, you will discover that it is fear disguised as desire. And when you see this clearly, it becomes easier not to give in. Fourth, document your journey. Write down what you are feeling. Write down what you are missing. Write down your doubts, your fears, your hopes. Because when you come out on the other side of this test, when you are living in the higher reality that is being prepared for you, you will want to remember where you came from. You will want to remember what you went through. Not to live in the past, but to know with absolute certainty that you are capable of overcoming anything. Fifth, find at least one way, however small, to help someone who is going through something difficult. It could be a word of encouragement. It could be a prayer. It could be a simple act of kindness, because when you serve in the midst of your own pain, you activate a spiritual force that sustains you in ways you can't rationally explain. You remember that your life isn't just about you, that your transformation will serve something greater. And now the most important part of all, you need to make a conscious decision now, not tomorrow, not when you feel better, not when things get better, now. Will you face this test with the awareness that it is a necessary test for your growth? Or will you continue to resist, complain, and play the victim until the pain becomes unbearable and you have no choice? because you're going to get through it one way or another. The universe has already decided that. The only question is, how long will it take you? How much more unnecessary suffering will you endure by resisting the inevitable? Chosen not for being perfect. They are chosen because when they fall, they get back up. When they break, they rebuild themselves stronger. When tested beyond their limits, they discover that there are no limits. And you are chosen. You always have been. You always will be. Nothing that is happening now changes that. In fact, everything that is happening now confirms it. Because if you weren't chosen, you wouldn't be being prepared for the next level. You would be left where you are, comfortable, average, safe, but stagnant. The universe only invests this amount of transformative energy in those it knows will use that transformation to impact the world in meaningful ways. So yes, it's been difficult. Yes, it hurts more than you thought you could bear. Yes, you want it to end soon, but don't give up now. Not when you're so close, not when you've already been through so much. The coming days and weeks will reveal signs that the transformation is complete. You will begin to feel a clarity you've never felt before. You will begin to have certainties about your path that you never had before. You will begin to see opportunities opening up in ways that seemed impossible before. And when that starts to happen, you'll look back at this exact moment where you are now. And you'll understand. You'll understand why it had to be so intense. You'll understand why it had to hurt so much. You'll understand why you couldn't see the whole plan while you were in the middle of it. And you will be grateful. Grateful for not giving up. Grateful for trusting. Grateful for having persevered. But that only happens if you keep going. If you choose every day, every moment to keep going, even when everything inside you wants to stop. Especially when everything inside you wants to stop, because that's where real transformation happens, not in the easy moments. In the impossible moments where you choose what's possible anyway. Powerful closing, 600 words. So now you know what's happening to you. You know why it's happening, you know where it's leading you, and you know what you need to do to get through it. The most dangerous test isn't about breaking you, it's about revealing you, revealing the strength you didn't know you had, revealing the wisdom that lay dormant within you, revealing the power you've always possessed but never needed to fully access until now. And when you cross over, when you emerge on the other side completely transformed, you won't be the same person. You'll be someone who knows, with absolute certainty, that they can survive anything. Someone who no longer needs external validation because they've found unwavering internal validation. Someone who is no longer afraid of the future because they've learned to trust the process. This is the next level of consciousness that awaits you, a level where you are no longer driven by fear but by purpose, where you are no longer controlled by circumstances but operate as a conscious creator. Where you are no longer a prisoner of opinions, but live in alignment with your deepest truth. And everything that's happening now, all the pain, all the loss, all the confusion, is the price to enter that level. It's what you pay to stop being ordinary and become extraordinary. To stop being reactive and become creative. To stop being limited and become limitless. So honor this process, respect this journey, even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts, because pain is evidence that something real is being transformed, something deep is being healed, something old is being released. And in the next videos, I'm going to show you exactly what to do when you start to feel the first signs that the test is ending. I'm going to show you how to recognize the opportunities that will start to appear. I'm going to show you how to move into this new level of awareness without falling back into old patterns, because passing the test is only the beginning. Afterward, you need to learn to live in the elevated reality that the test gave you access to, and that's a completely different journey, requiring completely different guidance. But for now, your only job is to keep going, to trust, to allow, to let go, to move on. So, leave a like on this video if it resonated with you. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because you'll need what's coming in the next videos. And go to the comments now and tell me, what revelation from this video impacted you the most? What truth did you most need to hear? And if you're feeling a strong calling right now, if you feel you need deeper guidance to get through this moment, click the link in the first pinned comment. There you'll have access to 3 sacred books with secret bonuses that will completely accelerate your transformation. But it needs to be now, because this calling you're feeling won't last forever. It's an invitation with an expiration date. Those who are chosen don't wait for permission. They recognize the call and respond. And you have just been called. The only question is, will you respond? The next level awaits. Your destiny awaits. Your true life awaits, but no one can walk through it for you. Only you can make that choice. Only you can take that step. Only you can say yes. So say yes and cross over. Because on the other side, there's a version of you who's already living everything you've ever dreamed of, and she's waiting for you to arrive. See you at the next level.